Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Julie Demi. I'm a Cambridge certified English teacher and a teacher trainer. In these sessions, I share with you how to do Delta Module 1, 2 and 3 successfully. And today we're going to talk about Paper 1, Task 4 and what to write in your answer. In these sessions, I usually share with you my experience and the experience of my colleagues, which is encapsulated in recommendations. Let's discover how to approach Delta Module 1, Paper 1, Task 4. First of all, we need to understand what it stands for. What is it? Task 4 asks you to analyze the written or spoken production of a learner and to identify key strengths and weaknesses in his or her performance. For this task, you can get 20 marks. What to expect? You can mention 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses, or 3 strengths and 1 weakness. It's totally up to you, but you must discuss at least 1 strength and at least 1 weakness. And now let's have a look at the example answer. As you can see, this is a typical task 4 where you are given 1 written part which was produced by the learner, and the topic is write about a holiday you will never forget. The level of the learner, as far as we can see, is B1, intermediate, which is really important for us to consider when we move on further to the key strengths and weaknesses which refer to the level. Let's have a look further what we are asked to do. Focusing on the areas listed below, identify a total of 4 key strengths and weaknesses of the text. It's really important to read the task that you are given so that you know exactly that you're in the right way and you are following the task, and provide the answer that you're asked to provide. Provide an example from the text of each choice, which means you need to provide an example. Include at least 1 strength and weakness in your answer. You can see that this is also stipulated here in the task itself, not to forget. And let's have a look at the features that we need to comment on. First of all, organization, accuracy of grammar, range and accuracy of lexis, and cohesion. So there are 4 that we need to pay attention to, and I think that we are ready to go. All right, as far as we can see, we have a written piece from one of the learners. The level is intermediate, which is really important. Let's have a look at the structure. So as far as you remember, we need to talk about the organization, accuracy, range and accuracy of lexis, and cohesion. If we talk about the structure, we can see that this piece of writing is logically divided into 3 paragraphs, 1, 2, and 3, which is good, and we can put it as our strength. As for the range of lexis, let's have a look together what we have. If you have a look at this piece of writing, you can notice that there is good command of lexis. So there is good range of lexis, use of phrases, collocations, and also use of get. So let's have a look at get. I have underlined it over here. So we have get used to. We also have another phrase, she got in 2 days after. And now let's have a look at cohesion. If we talk about it as strengths, we can notice that there are some linking devices such as at the beginning and finally. These are the ones that might be noticed easily, and as for the rest, we'll have a look a little bit further. And now let's have a look at possible weaknesses. First of all, accuracy of grammar. That's something what you can easily notice, and there are some problems with prepositions. I underlined some of those. My last trip in Dublin, which should be my last trip to Dublin. Then another one is definitely we phoned to the police, where we don't really need any preposition at all. Make sure that you can see more than 1 example of the weakness or strength, because if there is just 1 case, I'm afraid it's not enough for your answer. Let's have a look at accuracy of grammar. As far as you can see, there are some problems with past tenses, and in particular the use of past simple. As you can see here in the sentence which is in the first paragraph, the last sentence of the first paragraph shows that there are some problems with past simple in the second part of this sentence, where we have get used to instead of got used to. And if we have a look further in the second paragraph, the last sentence of the second paragraph, you can see that again the learner made the mistake with the past simple negative. She hadn't troubles, which should be she didn't have troubles. If we want to comment on the cohesion as a weakness, we can notice that there are some problems with the clauses of purpose. For example, if we have a look at the second paragraph, the first sentence of the second paragraph, we can easily notice that the student has some problems with expressing it in the right way. You can have a look at the underlined piece and you can easily notice it in the second paragraph. The second day we went to Guinness for know the history about it. So for is a wrong way of expressing the purpose. You can see that in the second paragraph, there is another example of the same weakness, the same mistake with the clause of purpose. We applied for did a complaint. Here we can see that there is some problem with the clause of purpose and it influences the cohesion. And now let's have a look at the example answer that can be written in the booklet. You will see more strengths and weaknesses, but you need to write only 4. So let's have a look at this example answer. There are key strengths which are organization, range of lexis, and cohesion. If we have a look at the organization, you can see that you can write it in the following way. It is logically organized, use of paragraphs, and the example, which should be easily read by the examiner. When you provide the comments about the organization and when you need to provide an example, you can see that the example may be longer than the feature itself. Don't worry about that, that's totally fine. So let's have a look at the example. The introduction to the trip, a story about where they stayed, a place they visited, what happened to his friend, what they did about it, what happened in the end, and conclusion that they had a good time and would go again. Or, alternatively, you can go with a different way of showing it as an example. Paragraph 1, background detail. Paragraph 2, what happened, and paragraph 3, resolution. It's totally up to you how you will depict it in your answer, though you can see that there is one way or another which is easier for you. And now let's deep dive into the range of lexis. As far as you can see here, there is a use of phrases, collocations, and use of get. You can pick one of those, which is okay, and you can't just write range of lexis, I'm afraid, so you need to be more specific here and you need to comment on that. So what kind of range of lexis? What does it refer to? So use of phrases, or even if you are more specific, it would be better to say use of phrases, use of get. When you write use of get, you're precise and specific by what you want to say here, and with the appropriate example, you can see that you will be able to convey your answer. We couldn't believe it. You learn how to manage. These are the phrases, the collocations that you can notice, as well as the use of get. Get used to. She got it in 2 days after. So in this case, you can see that there is good range of lexis. One of those strengths that you mentioned can also be a weakness, so it's totally fine. Don't get confused. Cohesion. If we want to comment on the cohesion as one of the strengths, we need to write the following information. Use of linking devices, examples, at the beginning, finally, fortunately, apart from this. So you can see that all those were written in this text. We can see that the learner demonstrated good cohesion in the text. And now if we have a look at the key weaknesses, we can see that there are some issues with accuracy of grammar, as we mentioned previously. You might have a logical question how to write your answer in the booklet. When you write your answer, be concise and specific. Don't try to write full sentences, as I mentioned previously. And if you see that there are some weaknesses, you need to mention not more than 4 altogether, strengths and weaknesses. So let's say if you've mentioned 3 strengths, you need to come up with 1 weakness. Though you need to keep in mind that it may happen that your piece of writing might not be as good as you comment, so the proportion should be logical as well. Let's have a look at key weaknesses. One of the key weaknesses is accuracy of grammar. There are some problems with prepositions, and here you go, there is an example. My last trip in Dublin, we phoned to the police at the beginning. Then we go to accuracy of grammar again, and we can see that there are some problems with singular and plural. So you can see that there are some examples that help us prove that the accuracy of grammar is a weakness. There is another weakness which also refers to grammar, which is the simple past tense. And we can see here there is a problem. She had troubles, and we finally got used to. We have also some issues with accuracy of lexis, and it refers to collocations. We need to be specific as well here. So we need to mention not just accuracy of lexis, but be specific where exactly the weakness is. And the weakness is with the collocations. So examples: did I complain? A funny time. Come back to Spain. She was so worried. We can see that these are the collocations that are not used accurately. We can see that there are some problems with cohesion. The purpose clauses are weak, and we can see that there was the wrong choice of the cohesive devices. Example: we went to Guinness for know the history and for did I complain. You can see that the learner misused the preposition, and in this case, it's the weakness. Alright, now let's have a look at the comments. Some people have no difficulty seeing the strengths but struggle to see the weaknesses. Others focus on the weaknesses immediately but have to look really hard to identify the strengths. It's the teaching equivalent of seeing the glass half full or half empty, and can serve as a good reminder that when teaching, we need to pay attention to both sides, to emphasize the positive things but also to be aware of our students' problems in order to be able to provide the support and help they need in the future. And now let's have a look at how to prepare. Well, first of all, you need to read grammar, discourse, lexical, phonological, and genre analysis references. And you can watch one of my recent videos where I share 5 useful books for Delta preparation that may be really helpful. Read references on learner error analysis. It's really important, and it may help you notice the problems that they can have. Provide your learners with extended speaking tasks. Record their responses and analyze them for a variety of features, not just by saying it is a good answer or it is a bad answer. You need to be more specific, and you can see here in bullet points something what you might consider and what you can benefit from while preparation. Range of grammar and lexis, complexity of grammar and lexis used, accuracy of grammar and lexis, pronunciation, organization of the text, cohesion and cohesive devices which are applied, effect on the listener, and task achievement, whether the task was achieved or not. Provide constructive feedback to your learners regarding their performance in the writing or speaking tasks, considering which strengths and weaknesses have the greatest impact on their successful completion of the tasks. Provide your learners with extended writing tasks and analyze the responses for a variety of features. As you remember, we have mentioned some of those previously, so it can be task achievement, appropriacy of genre and style, effect on the reader, organization, cohesion and cohesive devices, punctuation, accuracy of lexis, grammar and spelling, range of lexis and grammar, complexity of grammar and lexis. It doesn't really mean that you need to comment on everything, but if you come up with 3, that would be definitely beneficial. It will enable you to be more constructive in providing your feedback, since you will be able to comment on different features as their strengths or weaknesses. And now let's have a look what to start with. So first of all, read the rubrics for each part carefully to ensure you comment only on the features and language areas identified in the rubric. And what I mean by saying this is exactly the task. Read carefully the rubric. Read carefully what you are expected to comment on, and don't comment on something you are not asked. Don't forget that you're expected to provide a total of 4 key strengths and weaknesses together, plus an example for each from the text, and at least one of each, which means you need to have at least 1 strength and 1 weakness. Only give 1 example for each strength and each weakness. Bear in mind the learner's level when commenting on the text strengths and weaknesses, which is also important. You can't expect from the student to have good command of passives if you can see that the level of the student is A1. Make sure you express your points clearly and use a bullet point layout for your strengths and weaknesses. And the things to be aware of. So there are 2 things to be aware of. You are asked to identify key strengths and weaknesses that have a significant impact on the text or the learner's ability to use English. If there is only one example of a feature, it can't be said to be key. It might be just a slip. Notice the layout of the answer. Number 1, an indication of whether it is a strength or weakness and the specified category. 2, definition of the specific problem. For example, there is a problem with cohesion, and if we specify, there is a definition, there is the problem with the purpose clauses. And finally, an example from the text. That's something what you need to consider, and without an example, you can lose some precious marks. The advice is, there are 20 marks for this task, so if you're following the principle of a mark a minute, you should aim to spend a maximum of 15 to 20 minutes on it. And finally, remember, you can't know everything, but you can increase the probability of doing better in the exam by doing past papers, noticing your gap and analyzing the guidelines to better meet the requirements. And remember, the more you practice, the more confident you become. I'm pretty sure that many of you who are watching this video are active teachers and you teach actively every single day or probably some days a week, which means you have a lot of different examples and cases that you can analyze. In order to prepare for this part, pick some examples from your professional life. Self-reflect on what you had before. From now on, I think that you will be more specific when you provide your feedback, since you have some particular features to comment on. Think about the positive and negative things, think about the weaknesses and strengths, and don't be afraid to provide the student not only with the negative things, but also with some positive things. They need to know what they do well as they need to know which areas require more attention. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you like this video, your thumbs up will be highly appreciated. I am looking forward to seeing you in my new session, which will be dedicated to Delta Module 1, Paper 1, Task 5. If you noticed any other strengths or weaknesses that haven't been mentioned in this session, I would be really delighted if you could share them in the comments down below. Subscribe to my channel if you want to receive more videos like this. I wish you good luck. Bye!